I wanted to start off with a story, actually,
Okay.
if
I
that's
love
cool.
stories. Stories are great. We're all about stories.
Okay, perfect. So the first time we met, Mike, I think you saw me on a shoot. I was in Vancouver. I just moved here. I think it was 2011 or 2012. And then I think you Instagrammed a photo of that. You used to have this theme, the 1, 2, 3, 4. And then maybe it was around that time, but it was like a daily commitment that you did. And anyway, I was in it and I was like, oh, Mike, like I think we had met at some photography event. I just came out here, I was trying to network and doing
Yeah.
this like test shoot, and then yeah, you tagged me in, and then I think we met up, and that's kind of like how we met, which is epic. And thanks so much. I'm so glad I was in that place at the right time, and that you were passing by and you took that photo.
You were right there at 12:34. I was doing Be Real before Be Real was even a thing. So yeah,
Epic.
I used to post a photo of whatever I was looking at 12:34, and I did it for
Yeah,
like, how long did I do it for? I know I did it for at least a full year.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was pretty committed to it. So,
I love
and
it.
just to write, hey, thank if the my whole purpose of doing that, Satch, was for this right here, worth it.
Definitely, definitely. We've been friends for over like 10 years now, all of us. And
It's been a
another, yeah, and another funny thing was like when we did that little road trip to Portland
Portland. Yeah.
Mhm.
with Brittany,
Yeah.
and then we were at the border. I have a British passport, so they always give me a hard time because they're like, "What are you doing? Why are you crossing the border and stuff?" And and he asked us, how do you guys all know each other? And we were just looked around like, and you said Instagram. And now that's like a lot more commonplace. And but at the time it was the awkwardest answer, but it was true because I
Very true.
met through Instagram. Now everyone's meeting through Instagram, but yeah, again, 10 years ago, that was pretty funny. And the fact that we were connected in that way, we were part of that photography group mastermind. We were like connecting, what was that, monthly or something, and we were just talking about our goals and our dreams, and that was
Mhm.
so impactful and so helpful for me, a new photographer from London out in Vancouver. And I was immediately just around top quality photographers who are doing great things, people like yourself. And I just want to say just thank you so much for letting me be a part of that, and it's helped me tremendously on my journey. And just wanted to kick off with just some gratitude for you both.
Oh, well, we love you,
Yeah.
brother. And we're thankful for you too, and thankful that that all worked out. And here we are. Like you
Mhm.
said, man, that's like over 10 years.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
amazing. And we're really thankful to have you in our lives.
Mhm.
Um, it's and and excited for what's in store,
Mhm.
what's ahead.
100%.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I put together some questions for today. I'm so excited to have you both as guests on Coffee with Creatives. You've got your coffee there. Amazing,
I
Mike.
do got my coffee.
What are you
I might have to
drinking?
jump up and go for a refill because I drink coffee fast, but and I feel like a poser if I don't actually have coffee or if, like a fake imposter syndrome. Oh no. Just kidding.
Well, you got your coffee. Happy days. And so 10 years ago we met, but you've been shooting weddings for 20 years. Can you just bring us back to that moment? Maybe it's Shari who's been shooting for 20 years, and then but fill us in on that story. Like Shari, can you kick us off with what led you to becoming a photographer? You've been doing it for 20 years, and then how ultimately did you end up as a husband and wife team?
Oh man, I'll try to keep it short because that's a lot of time. Yeah, I always say photography kind of like found me and it was instant. I went on a family trip with my family at the end of high school and I asked my dad if I could use his camera on the trip and he said sure. And so I took it on the trip. I took a photo and I remember just like it was instant. I fell in love in that moment. I clicked that shutter. I had never seen the photo because obviously it was on film. Oh, Mike, thanks, Mike. That's the camera.
This is it.
Hey,
This is the camera.
hey, the Canon's that AE one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an AE1.
yeah.
This is where it all
Amazing.
started.
Yeah, so the love of it was really instant. And then I went away to college, was going into a fully different field. But I was allowed to take like a couple elective classes. And so I opted to do like a darkroom class. it just, obviously the love just grew deeper. I was like, I don't know if I can do this as a full-time job, because we lived in a pretty small city at the time. It was like 60,000 people. So I just didn't know.
The hat, if you know, you know.
If you know. Yeah, so I just photographed as much as I could while I was in college. And then a couple we had met they were getting married in 2003.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 20 years ago.
And they asked me if I would do their wedding, and I was like, sure. I don't even think I charged any money. I just did it. Yeah, and so that was my very first wedding that I photographed, and I photographed a few more that year. And then it was just always just a side thing while I finished college, and then I worked at a youth shelter and shot on weekends in the summer. Once again, just never thought that it would become obviously what it has become. And then we had an opportunity to move out to Vancouver in 2009. And we had already been married for almost 5 years. 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
The baby question was being asked a lot. We were really young. We're like, what is happening? Is this just life? Do we just like buy a house, settle in? This is it? And we both just like, it's not in us. And so we just were like, you know what? Let's take this opportunity. If it fully fails, we can always move back. And so we just, we packed up our life and into a minivan and a car and moved out to Vancouver in 2009. And
like a 495 square foot apartment from our 4-bedroom townhouse in Medicine Hat. So loved it.
It was
like, let's just see what life has. Let's do it.
Which was obviously the best decision like we've ever made, besides marrying each other.
Right.
But yeah, so that's how we ended up in Vancouver. And then just through, I'm always grateful for it. It was like a really bad job experience. And it was one of those moments where I was like, I just don't want this anymore. What else do I really want to do? Asking myself that question. And so then it was like the answer deep inside of me was always photography. I just didn't think I could do it. And so Mike got a full-time job.
I'd been telling her to do it for probably about 4 or 5 years before that. Like, go full-time. We could do it.
Yeah.
But
so then
finally,
Mike got a full-time job to support us while we were building our life here in Vancouver. And I jumped in and started to build the business. And it was always like one of those things where we never got enough weddings, we felt like, to support us both in Vancouver. But we decided it was 2012, right?
Yeah. We were kind of again at like that cusp. So like for me, I had been, after we got married, I started going to weddings with Shari and helping her on shoots, just carrying bags and stuff like that, nothing serious. But then she gave me a camera and I started shooting with her. So I guess I did pretty good. I had a little bit of sneaky photography experience in my back pocket that she didn't know about. Nothing serious, but a little sneaky. And then I started shooting with her. I think officially I shot since 2008. I think I've shot every wedding with you, aside from a couple because of life and stuff like that. But that was kind of when I would say that I really started shooting weddings. And then so then what it was like 2012, it was like, okay, we're back at that wall again, like that we
not quite
hit.
Enough work,
like not quite enough to go for it, but I mean, so we just made the choice. We're like, if we're gonna do this, it's time to be brave. It's time to, let's just step off the ledge, and we're not going to get there if we aren't brave about this and we don't take the step and believe that we can. And so that was kind of our point. I guess it would have been leading into the 2012 wedding season, where we were like, you know what, it's time. Let's just go for it. Quit my full-time job, and then we just committed to like doing this thing. And and then the next year, I think that year we had 17 weddings, so it was a little thin. And then the next year we went to, I think we 39. Did 39.
Wow.
Once we committed. So yeah.
Right on. And so you've been full-time ever since as wedding photographers, a husband and wife team. So Shari, it sounds like you had your own business and
Shari Lee Photography.
I remember that. And then you rebranded, so to
Yeah.
speak, and became the husband and wife team, Shari and Mike, as we now know you.
Yeah.
So I want to go into that kind of rebrand or just a bit later, but 20 years is a long time to be shooting weddings. And I kind of want to ask each of you individually, what do you feel it takes to create longevity within this career as wedding photographers? Because you'd already been doing it for 10 years before you became the husband and wife team. And that's already a long period of time. But what do you feel, Shari, has created longevity for you? And then I would love to hear from Mike.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the key has just always been the excitement factor for me. Like I said, I just really felt like it was like deep in my core. Like the moment I fell in love with it, it just was like such like a, it wasn't like a gradual thing. It was like an instant thing. And so I think for me, it's just always been the excitement. Which obviously like a lot of things are connected to that, which is connection also. Like I feel like very early on, we really started to book the right people. And it's that connection with people that Mike and I always say is like such the key of our business. We just love people in general, but then just when you have that connection with people on a deeper level and you get invited into this like this epic time in their life and you get to document it and build that like we're still friends with so many of our couples, and I think it's because of that. Like we leave weddings more like we never really feel that like exhaustion after a wedding that some people feel. There's something about the life we actually get from being in the wedding space and in the space with people and love and all those things. And so I think for me, that's been the key for being able to do this so long. I think if I didn't like love it at my core and it brought that like life for me, I think doing something for 20 years is crazy.
Yeah.
Like if it doesn't do that for you, right. I just think is like, I don't think I would be able to do it. So
yeah. And I would say like, you know, like for me, like talking about longevity is an interesting one, right? Because it's kind of like, there's kind of like two parts to it, right? It's like your capacity for it, for what you're doing. And then there's also like your relevance within the industry. Like you might have all the capacity to do it, but like if clients and stuff aren't connecting with you and your work and you're going a different way, you're not going to get the work. So it's kind of, there's kind of a two part to like longevity and doing this. But I do think they're very inherently connected. And so I think for me, the biggest key has been, and Shari touched on this a little bit, is connection. Like, you know, being someone who wasn't like, not like Shari, like I wasn't like, oh, I want to be a photographer. I love photography. It's inside of me. I've always been a little bit like, I used to be a dancer and stuff. So I've always had like a creative, I've always needed like some sort of creative outlet. But for me, it's always been more about connection to humans and connection to people and connection to communities. And so weddings and this industry, and they give me that. So like, I get so much life out of that like, you know, like Shari said, we don't get like, we can shoot a triple header on a weekend and not be super tired physically, yes, but not like drained. What drains us is more like sitting at a desk and writing emails and doing all the like monotonous business side of it. That's what drains us. But then the shooting side of it and the connecting with people and meeting with clients and even like that connection gives us so much life and fills us. That's what fills us back up, I think. And then for me, like also the interaction within our community of photographers and within our industry, like I love that. That's like, I'm all about that. And so that gives me so much life. So I think for like our personal longevity, or my personal longevity, to be able to continue to do this, because I'm also the type that I don't do well with like routine and with the same thing. I like to blow things up and go like, you know, all of a sudden I'm, you know, like, oh, this is getting too normal. Let's all of a sudden, hey, maybe I should see if I could be an Olympic bobsledder. Okay, cool. Okay, maybe I want to be a carpenter. You know, like that was typically what I was. I just love exploring. There's so much curiosity and there's so much life out there to live. But I think what always grounds me back to this photography community and like our business in photography is that human connection that I'm getting out of that. And that every wedding's a little bit unique. Everybody's story is different. And our clients trust us to be able to capture that in how we capture it out of us. Like, so again, like Shari said, that the right kind of people are also important. So for longevity, I think I think from a personal standpoint, it's like, are you getting life from this? If you are, then you're good. Then you'll be able to do it for so long, you know, like is it draining you or is it filling you up? And so, you know, that I think from a personal standpoint of how we could do this so long is key. You know, then there's the other side of the coin, how we've been able like stay relevant. That's a different kind of thing. So yeah,
100%. Oh, I love that. And sounds like a lot of the energy and the life from weddings, community, the culture of weddings, and it really propels you, energizes you, and gives you life, as you said. And when that's the case, and you face challenges or you face hardship, you can connect to that to help you through it. Because if you weren't energized or you weren't excited by it, then it's going to take you out, literally out of you. You're not going to want to have anything to do with it, and you're not going to want to overcome those challenges. So
totally
segue into challenges, because over 20 years, you must have faced several challenges. And as exciting and life-giving as weddings are, there's always challenges. So what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you faced in the 20 years of you both shooting weddings?
Oh, easy for me. I am like a self-doubter to my core. People are always like, why aren't you like teaching or doing all those things? Self-doubt. Struggled with my entire life. Probably gonna cry. What the heck? So I think that's always been my biggest struggle, is to battle that. And the fear that I feel. But I'm just learning that actually like fear isn't like a bad thing. It's what you do with that fear and whether it like drives what you do and it like controls where you go. But fear is actually like, you can't be brave without fear, without feeling that. And so I'm learning, there's a lot of self-discovery that's been happening in like the last, really since Augie was born, our daughter. And so yeah, so I'd say like that for sure has always been my biggest challenge, is myself. But obviously having someone like Mike, who is completely opposite than me, has really like helped keep me like, yeah, just like focused on what I need to do. And letting that self-doubt, it never stops me. Well, it stops me in some things, but it never like fully stops me. I have this ability to push past a lot of that things. And obviously I've done this for 20 years. So I am proud of myself for that, because there's been obviously many times where the fear could have completely wiped me out, stopped me completely, shut the business down. But I think once again, it goes back to that, like that deep love and connection of this, that I don't let it stop. So I would say me. That's my number one.
Well, yeah, thanks for sharing that and for touching upon the things that have helped you overcome it. If somebody out there is listening right now, like what would you say if they don't have, say, a mic in there and like by their side, or they have this fear but they want to do it anyway, or they want to get more comfortable with taking the action anyway, even though there is fear? What would you say to even maybe your younger self to help you navigate that?
I think finding people who believe in you is really like surrounding yourself with people who believe in you. So even if you don't have a mic, find those people who really do pull you out of that. I think doing it alone is like, not alone as in you being a single shooter, meaning like alone in like life in general, without community, I think I think would be really hard. And I think it's obviously a lot of like doing a lot of self-work. I think this business, like we always think it's like learning your gear and learning composition and learning all those things is what's going to make you a better photographer, which it does to an extent, obviously. But I think a lot of times the growth of you just as like a human is like also like a key part in becoming like such a great photographer. I think it helps you become just a more empathetic person when you show up at weddings. I think it helps you really like lean in to like what's happening in front of you, erasing the ego, all that stuff. I don't know if I'm answering my question, but I think it's just like, I think you just have to do it and find those people who help pull that out of you. I think if you're a person like me who really struggles with that stuff, and I have my whole life, it's funny, like the more you like learn about yourself, you look back at like younger Shari, you're like, whoa, like this has been a part of my life since I was like little. So therapy is like one of the things on my list this year. Once again, fear has kept me from going to therapy, but wow, I'm being really vulnerable right now. These are things I never talk about.
Well, and I think to even like, and this Shari was telling me about this. I think it was just yesterday when we were talking, but to put it also, I think if you can reframe your fear, so like stop trying to eliminate your fear. Your fear's there, you know, and like Shari said, and like, you know, think about it, like if we didn't have fear in life, life would be incredibly boring, because without overcoming, you have to be brave to overcome fear. What worthwhile in life doesn't take some bravery in it? Well, bravery, fear sits alongside bravery. You can't have bravery without fear. So instead of trying to eliminate fear from your life, you just reframe that into like, fear's here. Come with me, fear. What did you say? Shari found a quote in a book or was listening to something where they talked about invite fear with you, but they're not driving. They're just in the backseat. You know, like invite your fear with you, but don't let it have the wheel. And I think that is key. So if you stop trying to eliminate fear and run away from fear and escape fear, which essentially you're having fear of fear. So, you know, stop that and just focus on like, okay, I just need to not let this have the wheel. I don't need to eliminate it. I don't need to chase it away. In fact, maybe I can embrace it a little bit, and reframing your fear and using that to actually help you grow and push you forward. I think
it's powerful. And totally agree with you, Shari, with having that support system or those people around you that can support you and help you navigate those times and really be your cheerleader and support system as you're going through it, because sometimes they'll be going through things and then you can support them, and that's really powerful. So Mike, for yourself as well, what would you say for you one of your biggest challenges has been in the last 10 to 15 years?
I'm excited to hear that.
Well, okay. Well, one thing, like I said, I talked about connection, community, all that thing. So from that end, the pandemic was tough. It not being able to shoot, and I realized how much life I was, because we were so busy with work, and so I think that's definitely a big challenge, is thinking about ourselves outside of our business. As much as we love it, we also need to think about that, and you know, like that work-life balance, whatever that means. We don't know. Help us, tell us if there's anybody. But like, I think that was hard to get through that, like completely pulling all that human connection away. Like I just crave hangs and stuff like that. It's so to like not have that was tough. And so I feel like during that time I lost myself a little bit. And I'm still kind of working through that to get back out of there. Like I feel like I've kind of sunk into monotony a little bit and lost some of my vibrancy and vivaciousness, if you want to call it that. You know, like some of my spunk. You know, so I'm excited to get back to that, and we're getting back to that this year, and looking forward to that. You know, and getting back into that. Last year was kind of working through that and into that too. So I think that's been one of my biggest struggles. And then the other one I would say before the pandemic, because I'm sure you asked that and everyone will say the pandemic, so I don't want to make it about that, is again, though, some of the like everyday monotony of running a business. I love the excitement. I love dreaming about the future. I love seeing where the business can go and new opportunities and meeting new people and shooting and going to new places and exploring. But then you got to do invoicing and write emails and, you know, do all that kind of stuff. And I don't, that side of it's tough, my struggle. But, you know, that's where Shari and I can be a good team, because she can rein me in a little bit so that I don't like forget to do all that stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we haven't paid our phone bill for 5 months. Whoops. You know, like that sort of thing, and bring back to some of the reality of life stuff. So that's where I think we're a good balance. As much as Shari said, I'm there for her to get her through that, she is also there to get me through that. And that's where I think our push and pull is really healthy and really good as a couple, as a business owners together, as parents together, you know, that we're constantly have this really healthy, good push and pull of each other. And so, yeah.
I love that. I love that. I can relate to what you were saying around kind of losing yourself during COVID. It was obviously for everyone a very challenging time and a different experience. And sometimes I think, oh, I'm back to normal. This is who I am and stuff. But then I'll go to like an event or I'll hear a musician or an artist, and I'm like, I used to do more of that. Why am I not doing that anymore? I'm literally like rediscovering parts of myself that I've kind of forgotten about or had buried because it just wasn't a possibility. So I didn't allow myself to go there. So I completely relate to that. It's so important to rediscover ourselves and then also try new things and keep discovering ourselves.
There's this actually or one sec.
Yeah, no problem.
There we go. Yeah, there's this I wouldn't say I've ever sat and I had a new experience. I've never cried from a TV commercial before, I don't think. But I was watching TV and this commercial came on, and it was like, it felt so real to where I was at. It was just like, I don't know.
Was
if
it
you've
a
seen
Tourism BC?
Nah, it was like Go RVing or something at the end. I don't know, whatever. But I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this Go RVing commercial where this guy is just like in the city in his job, just kind of loses it, chucks his thing, rips his clothes off, goes running into the woods. He runs through a field. He's like screaming, and then he's like out in the wild, and he sees this shadowy figure, and he just takes off running after it. And the shadowy figure, he chases him through the woods, and they jump off a cliff into a river, and he catches the figure, and the figure turns around, and it's himself in this river with this like look, and he just like looks in shock and then embraces this. And it's like, that connected with me so much, is like, I need to find that again. I need to find myself. Like myself has got caught up. And I think this is like good in business too. Like overall, it's important to constantly check. So I think COVID accelerated it, but I do think, you know, like this has been a thing throughout our business, was like, I need to find that person and make sure that person is there and I'm connected with it, because that's who I am. That's inherently at my core. And that was like, so yeah, like I mean, the Go RVing commercial, go watch it if you know how Mike feels or has felt. It's great. Yeah.
Awesome, Mike.
What
would you say are the practical things then that you may be doing to rediscover yourself and to get back to who you were, where you were, and then move forward? Are there things that you're doing daily? Is it experiences that you're going on? Like, what do you feel is a good way to get back to that?
Yeah, I think we're still kind of working on that and figuring that out, but like just prioritizing some time and getting back, you know, shifting back out of the monotony mindset into more of like get out there. I've been getting into back into like bouldering again, and Augie, or my daughter's been super into it, which has been super fun. So I have some friends that have kind of connected with and been doing that with, so that helps. You know, like, but also like we decided to take a little step back this summer finally and prioritize our time a little bit more. Augie's in school now. For all of you, Augie's our daughter. So if we say Augie, that's our daughter. She's 6. She's in school now. So summer break's a thing. So we actually, like, this summer, we're going to pick one weekend a month from like May to September, and we're going to book it off, and we're going to book things in it so we don't get tempted to take weddings in them. And so we did that this year. So like this year we're going camping, and we have like 2 weeks to like go on a road trip to like Saskatchewan, and you know, like that sort of thing. And we have space for some of those things that give us life outside of our business. We've been actively carving space for that, which is exciting. So I think that, and then I think also what's important is getting back to like getting excited about what the future holds. Like we kind of feel like 2022 was tough because as much as 2020 was tough and 2021 2021 was tough. 2022 was tough because that was like the catch-up year. So like we shot way more weddings than we had wanted to, but just trying to catch up from 2 years of like postponements and stuff. So we were burnt at the end of the year. But I think what helped was knowing that this was a unique situation, and then actively taking those steps to book some time for us.
Yeah.
Was really important. And so, yeah, so now I'm excited to get back to like dreaming again. I think we haven't been able to we've been either in like survival mode for a long time, you know, and we were even before the pandemic, we were in that, like since Augie was born and learning this family thing. So we're excited to like dream again, get back out there. You know, we both right now we're for 3 weeks, we're both 40. You know,
hey,
so
congrats.
you know, so we're in that window. So we're like, what do the next kind of 10 years hold for us? Let's like lock down some stuff and get excited about where Shari and Mike can go in life and business and that sort of thing for like the next kind of like push of 10 years. And so we really feel like this is a bit of a setup year for us. So that's getting the excitement going again and that sort of thing. So yeah,
I love that. So could you share a bit around your process around that? So you said, you know, the next 10 years, when we were touching base the other day, you said it was kind of like rediscovering yourselves and then planning for the future. So after the recovery and all the craziness of COVID, how are you right now setting goals for the future, creating your vision for the future with Augie, family? How do you practically go about that?
We haven't yet. We're taking this year as our reset year. And doing like those few things which we have like never done. Like I feel like because we love it, can be hard when you really love what you do to set like boundaries. And we're really proud of ourselves that this year we actually like set boundaries and actually stuck to it. Definitely we have sucked at that for pretty much our entire career, because we just, and we weirdly can take on a lot. So I think it has always been hard to set boundaries because we're always like, we can do it. But I think when a kid gets involved, it just like adds this like different layer of like like
spontaneity.
Totally. That
spontaneity,
too.
Yes.
Where we just like have this other human to think about, who has like needs, and like we want to be the best parents we can be to her, and like so it's just like we have that, and we need to focus a lot more on that.
And like and that's important too. Like I think, you know, to flip it back to longevity, I think learning like okay, I think now at the point where we're at in life, if we want to continue to sustain to do this longevity, both in like personally but also in creative outlet and creating, I think like the more we focus on that, the better work we're going to be putting out, because we feel more full and excited about life, and we're capturing that and we're seeing that, and the way we're documenting things is going to flow out of that, because I mean the way you document is definitely like flows out of who you are and everything like that. I think the more you tap into you and know yourself as you progress in this, you know, once you have all your basics and that sort of thing, the true way to really grow as an artist and as a business owner within this wedding industry that we're in is to really connect with yourself and tap into that inside of you, so you can capture through that window and through that lens. But you know what I mean? Like yeah. So
I got you.
It's like super crucial for that side of it. So I think, like that right now, the biggest active step was, prioritizing some time, booking some time off. But we do want to definitely get back into the point now, you know, as we're tying up right now we're actively tying up loose ends. So I guess from a more practical sense, we sat down and been like, what are some of the things with our business that we've wanted to like tie up and clean up for years that we haven't had the time to or the capacity to, because we were taking on so many weddings, we were trying to parent, so we only had a limited capacity to do these things really well. And then some of these other things that aren't as crucial or maybe don't matter as much in the moment, you kind of just set aside. So we're trying to like get all those locked down. And then but what we used to do, we used to like at the start of every year,
we were like huge goal setters.
huge like that was like we would sit down like January and we would like brain dump, and we would be like, okay, what are our like what are our long-term goals? Like, where do we want business and life to go? Like, what are we feeling like that? And then we would also look and be like, okay, what do we want to focus on this year? And we would set some targets to hit, you know, like very specifically that we were going to like do to like push our lives and our business forward. And so we want to get back to doing that again. You know, so, but you know, like, so I think that's going to be the plan once we tie up the loose ends. We actually might be booking like a little personal getaway retreat for a few days to just kind of go somewhere and do that. So
totally.
Yeah,
that sounds epic. Just the theme for me that ran through what you're saying was first and foremost, like creating boundaries, creating the space and knowing, okay, this is currently what I'm doing, but not letting that get too out of control, but just really creating boundaries around your time. And then you know what gaps you have or what you can fill with the remainder of time, but you know, getting excited, going to a cabin or something like that. And just like a musician would go and just get there to cut out all the noise and the distraction so that they can create their albums, doing the same thing for your vision and your future, because it's so important. It makes complete sense to draw that boundary and do that.
And I think with what you said too with boundaries, that's so good because like you need to like, I think we again need to like shift our thinking on what boundaries are, because I think sometimes you hear boundaries and you think that boundaries are something that stop you. It's restrictions, you know. So like, how can you grow and be moving forward if you have a whole bunch of boundaries set? But here's the thing, like actually when boundaries are set, you know that you have an entire space to play with, that you can go anywhere within that boundary safely and confidently and everything like that. Like to have no, like a child with a fenced yard or a massive space with no fence, where are they going to be able to thrive more? They're going to be able to thrive more in the fenced yard because you can just let them go and be like, they're good. They can explore every inch of that yard and everything. So we need to like not necessarily be scared about boundaries. Boundaries actually help us to like maximize our capacity as best we can. And then once that boundary is maxed out and that capacity is maxed out, that's when you can look to expanding your boundaries. But it's not necessarily that you eliminate all boundaries. That actually holds you back. Like animals, like it's actually proven that if sheep don't have a fence, they stay huddled in a ball like in one place because they don't have a fence to like be protected. Like it's a thing, you know, like it's whereas when you have some boundaries set up, you're free to explore every inch of that.
Totally. Yeah, it's the boundaries or the limitations create freedom. Actually, and it's like, you know, and the better you know yourself, you're talking about, you know, knowing yourself more and more and working with that, the better you know yourself and you create the space or the boundaries in the positive frame of a boundary, then you can explore and create within that space and make room for what else you want in your life from there. So I love that. That's awesome, man. So going to looking back over the years and your career, what would you say, did you feel like there was a significant kind of tipping point in your career that created the kind of success that you have now? Was there something that was like a pivotal moment where you were like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it at the time, but these series of events or this one thing like changed the game for us, and since then it's been incredible? Is there something that you can point towards?
I feel like I don't know if there's like one tipping point. I feel like it's been like a series of tipping points that we can look back on and be like, oh, that like really changed things for us, or like, so I don't know if it's like one.
Okay. Yeah. So what could you, in whichever way makes sense, but chronologically, can you kind of go through certain tipping points? Because there's photographers listening to this and other creatives in their careers, and 20 years of experience is no joke. Like, it's incredible that you're doing what you're doing and you're rediscovering and you have that passion. And Mike, well played, got the refill with the coffee. Nice. But what would you look back on, and invite anyone who's listening to this, watching this, to also think about their own careers and like, what were the tipping points for them? But what for you were your tipping points, and is there a kind of chronology to that?
I think it started with maybe we'll see if we're on the same page.
Okay.
I think it started when Mike quit his full-time
job. Trying to think where you were bit. No, that's an improv game, right? Where you try to like, okay.
I think that was like the first major tipping point. Because it was a moment where it was like, we're doing this, like we're taking the leap, we're in, we're like, and I feel like doing that and then seeing the like almost immediate like reward of that with, because I always said like my entire time before that, it was always like a ceiling, like I could never get to like that 20 weddings, never could get there. And then it was like quit the full-time job, did those weddings, and then the following year it was like 39. It was like mind blowing. So I feel like that was probably the first tipping point of like, okay, the leap, here we go. And then from there it's always like, oh sorry, go Sach.
Oh yeah, no, I was just going to say, so it sounds like it was being fully committed to the business and, you know, to each other, and like going all in into it, because you know, it's sometimes we're doing that part-time job, or we're distracted, or we're not fully like in it. But when we do, and it's true for myself as well, you know, going from finance into photography and then going all in, it was like, well, there's no, I know what that life's like. There's no going back. Let's go all in. And after 2 years, if this doesn't work out, hey, at least you gotta go, right? So going all in, I can definitely relate to that. And cool, Shari, so you're gonna say the next, what would you say the next?
And then I think from there, it's like just like smaller things like we can look back on and be like, oh, it was because we did that like this happened.
Which like, again would help, like, you know, like different little, I mean, steps along the way that have like propelled us forward in business, and I helped create that longevity of like the other side of the longevity that I was talking about, like staying relevant in the industry and developing that sort of thing. I think a big one too was the fair, like with
I was at this point, when was that? I don't know. Anyways, but it was like kind of like the discovery of your style, and being like, back then it was, I don't know, there was just like a lot of options, it seemed like, of where, I don't know, and I just didn't feel like I fit anywhere, and what I was creating maybe wasn't exactly like, it didn't like really resonate with me. I think I was too influenced by outside people, like looking too much. And so Fair was coming to town, he did a workshop, and the whole thing was just like on using light in a variety of different ways. And that like our work really shifted after that. Like I really feel like I discovered a lot about like our work and what really like felt like us. And
you know what? That's good. This is actually, I think when we say there's been lots of tipping points along the way, there's been different tipping points in aspects of our business. I think if you think about that, like, you know, the first one was like the whole tipping point of taking the business seriously, period, that we can do it. This one, it would be in the way that we shoot, in our creativity, and finding our style and who we are was a major tipping point. Was that Fair workshop, which like definitely, like if you talk to people now about what connects to our work, there's like two things they say are our use of light and the way that we capture like people and candid, like that sort of thing. It seems like those are the two things. So that was sorry to interrupt.
No,
this was like
good.
I was like, oh yeah. And then I think another major one was you know, like we were all about community. We had really connected well with the community in Vancouver, but we hit a point where we were like, and this was one of our goals with our goal setting that we were talking about the years, was we decided, you know what, we just want to see where we can go in this industry on a grander scale. So we decided that we were just going to like go to every kind of conference and like that sort of thing. And we were going to splatter our work kind of all over the place. So we submitted to like a whole bunch of blogs, entered a bunch of contests, booked 3 or 4 different conferences to go to and meet people and connect with the wedding photography community on a grander scale. And that was a major shift for us in doing that, and just kind of taking that for a year, because that elevated our connection within the industry. It elevated that and gave us opportunities that we could only have like, you know, a few years before that couldn't have even fathomed. You know, but just deciding to make those couple little steps to kind of do that was like a huge point for us. So.
Love that. I love that. So it's kind of like you're shooting these weddings, you've figured out, or you have your style, but then you go to a workshop like Fairs and you see light in a different way, and it's reflected within you, and then you double down on that.
Yeah.
But then the side of you both is connection, and you love the people in the industry, and then you double down on that. And then went to all these conferences and connected and continue to share your work, get that out there, and like really network and do the things that you love, which is connecting with other humans and having awesome times and experiences. And that's beautiful. So anything else? So sorry, go for it.
And Shari. I would say from that, just as like an example, it's like we didn't go into that being like, oh, we're going to connect with people so that like we can it was about literally connection. We just wanted to like meet people, and from that though, what was cool is like we had went to WPPI that year also, and we had met like Ken from, at the time, Renaissance Albums. Met him through Gabe and all this stuff, and then Ken was the one who nominated us for Rangefinder
Rising Stars.
Wow. And that would never have happened if we just didn't like put ourselves out there to like connect with people. And like, and so because at that time like nobody knew who we were, like we were just so it's cool just like how you do that, and then the what comes out of that sometimes is like really beautiful. And that was huge for us, getting that Rangefinder Rising Star. So
but I think the key is what you said, Sachin, and what, you know, kind of goes with this, it comes out of something inside of you. Like, you know, Shari wasn't thinking about like that fair workshop and like, what can I do to make it have a more profitable business? She was like, I want to create, I need to connect more to what I'm creating. And that workshop blew that away. So it was an internal thing. And, you know, like we wanted to see where we could go in the industry, like, you know, on a grander scale, because we saw so many amazing people. We wanted to network, we wanted to connect out of our desire for human connection, and then also our curiosity and excitement about like what we were doing, you know. So it was out of that curiosity and excitement, not about like, how can I have a more profitable business? And if that's your focus on it, that's great. I will question then, like, if you want to talk about longevity, you need to like, then you need to have your motivation coming from somewhere else, and maybe that's just supporting your family, and that's your main motivation. That's great. I love that. That's awesome too. It's just knowing where your motivation is coming from and what it's coming out of, and trying to make sure that that's out of a healthy motivation. You'll grow, then you can sustain this business, and then you can have the longevity. But I think I just wanted to like dive in and say, like, we didn't do those things to be like, let's see how many followers we can get, let's see this and that, you know. It was just about, we want to connect and we want to like create, we want to connect and create.
I love it. That's a definite theme, you know, running through this conversation as well. And just like really just doubling down on who you are, and then knowing that once you do that, that will have impact on your business. And through other interviews that I've done as well through this, it's just continuing to connect with yourself, personal work, really putting yourself out there truly and what lights you up, and then things begin to happen and connections are made and things unfold in a beautiful way. Cool. So throughout this time, did you mentioned about developing your skills around light with going through Fairs workshop? I think I was at that workshop too.
Were you?
Yeah. Okay, so check this out. I heard about Fair because I saw him at SWPP, which is a wedding photography conference out in London. And I went to see him speak, and I literally went because a friend was like, oh, I'm going to see this Mexican guy. His name's Fairs, works epic. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, sure. And there was only about 15 or 20 people in that room. And so, you know, went to see it, and he just blew my mind. It was unbelievable. Fair's an amazing speaker. He was just, his why was deeply rooted in his family, and then of course like exploring creativity, things like that. But long story short, he was doing a workshop in Paris, and I was like, I got to go to Paris and learn from this guy. So I went to Paris in like summer 2011. But then I was moving out here in like February 2012, and he was doing another workshop. And I was like, I've already kind of done his workshop. But I was like, I'm going to go to that workshop. But my goal is to connect and learn and meet the community and just meet people like yourself. So maybe we even met there, actually.
We definitely might have.
Yeah. And so
I was probably the shy little one in the corner. Not so.
So, you know, and it was great to go again, because obviously it doubled down and helped me, you know, really integrate the lessons. But the shoot in Paris, because fair, we'll shoot outside, it's sunny, it's bright, you know, we found like cool tunnels and epic light, that, you know, the classic fair dramatic shots that he creates, which I still use now. I still use those same methods now. And but the one in Vancouver, it was like cloudy and wet and raining, and he had to create in a completely different way. And so it was like a brand new workshop for me too. And anyway, I just wanted to just share like how monumental as well and powerful going to workshops and learning from the people that you admire, it can have a profound effect on your business. So back to my question, have you, outside of the photography and the shooting, the skills, business-wise, how have you continued to develop yourself there and your skills? Are you reading certain books? Of course, there's like podcasts, things like that, but any tipping points or any monumental connections that you had over the years?
Business is always like the hardest part always for us. Let me think about this. In 2019, we reached out to Pepper. So they're a business in Kelowna, actually. Kamloops, not Kelowna, Kamloops. And we had reached out to Stace there, and they were like so helpful with us. Because 2019 definitely took like me personally just took like a really mentally was not doing well, and so we needed to bring in some outside help, and so Stacy and the team were really amazing to help us like get our emails like back organized, and like just like things like that just when you're not healthy as a human kind of just like gets put off. And so they really helped us, and so we've actually kept them on. Their role with us has changed, but they take on things that we don't have time for or don't really care about, but is important, which is really, so the outsourcing part of it, I think we've learned is really important for us.
How do we do that? Outsource, get other people to help. Community, back to community. Find people that we can partner with that will help do the things that we suck at or don't love. You know, like that sort of thing. From a practical standpoint, for sure. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. It's so important to have, you know, your time back and that freedom, but also to, you know, I like to say, just outsource the things that you hate and double down on things that you love, because then you'll always be just loving what you do, and you're getting that support and you're
and we definitely like we're exploring more of that this year, with outsourcing editing, even though we're taking on like less work this year, but it's also, we're trying to learn to do things when we're not busy. We're really bad at like waiting until we're overwhelmed. Does that make sense? To then try to get things into place, but rather doing those things when we're not overwhelmed. And so
being a little more proactive and less reactive.
So if you're listening to this and you're just starting out 20 years and we still don't have our shit together, so
things change, and it's a continual like progression, right? And
literally, and I feel like everything just moves so much faster now too, and so but being like okay with changing and evolving and like all those things is also important in the longevity of it. I think if you ever stop doing any of those things, like wanting to change, I think that's when you're gonna get really left behind in this industry, because I feel like it moves very quickly now. Like 20 years ago, very slow, I felt like. But now it's like now with AI and all those things, it's just a lot of things are happening, and it's either Yeah.
Totally. So how would you say right now, what are you doing to continue to stay relevant in this industry in terms of your business, creativity? What are some of the things that you're looking towards?
Yeah, I think that's where, like, in doing this so long, your thinking does start to like shift and evolve from like practical stuff to like, oh, we gotta like send to this blog or get our work published here or update our portfolio and be on high Google ranking and all that kind of stuff. Like your focus kind of shifts from, and all that stuff's valuable. I'm not dishing on any of that stuff. We actually, you know what, practically though, that some of the stuff we're actually trying to work on. Like Pepper's actually helped us probably get to our highest Google ranking we've ever been. They cleaned up our website and like figured some of that. So that's been amazing. And we do want to get back out to like getting more work out there. One thing we've consistently always done. So right now I'm saying like, oh, you move past this, but no, this is actually one thing we've consistently always done is we've always entered our work into a few contests that like we know, because some people don't like contests. I get it. It's, but if you can shift your thinking, well, we've always been advocates for contests because it helps you to evaluate your work because you're always like looking at all your work and considering what you would enter and that sort of thing. Sorry, one sec.
So good.
And then and then also like it's a real practical way to get your work out there, like and on a worldwide scale. So to get people to see your work and that sort of thing. So that's one thing that we've always done is always trying to be vulnerable and put our work into contests and like different competitions and stuff that we love and we know are respected to a certain level in the industry, just to kind of like stay present and be out there. So that's kind of one way that we've been able to like continually attract clients and bring people in. The other one though is like, back to that human connection. Our biggest thing is we want to be the best people to work with, so that like for our clients, we want like if our clients, so as much as we had to like not focus on some of the technicalities and everything, one of the non-negotiables that we always focused on when we were at limited capacity was always trying to create the best work that we can, but B, always trying to give our clients the best experience that we can on their wedding day. So we've kind of like, we have really shifted to the point where our biggest thing when we go into a wedding is to support our clients. We want them to have the best time ever. We know that photos aren't always people's favorite time. And that's okay. We're like, you know what? Challenge accepted. We're going to shift that. And if our clients at the end of the day are thanking us for being at their wedding and have like they loved it and they loved every moment of it and everything, then we're winning. They haven't even seen a photo yet, doesn't matter, because we've given them an experience and we've been able to help them on their day even feel that so much more. That's everything to us, and that helps us like create more because we can, the more they're comfortable they are, the better we are to photograph them and create. So that's always been a thing for us, and in doing that, we're creating clients that will shout your name out to all their friends and everybody that, because you've given them an experience. You haven't just taken good photos. People remember how they felt. And that is huge, So if you are taking really cool photos, but the people had the experience to get those photos wasn't enjoyable for them, they are going to look, because photos take you back to a moment. They're going to look at that photo, and as much as they think it's cool, it's going to take them back to that moment and that feeling. And if that feeling was a little bit then they're going to look at that photo and it's going to, no matter how cool it is, it'll be a little bit So that is where our shift has almost been away from taking good photos at weddings to like, let's just support our clients. We are here for you. If we got to put our cameras down and just be your number one fans and support on the wedding day, we got you. So that's our take on the wedding day. And I think that's helped really create longevity and that sort of thing, because like I said, our clients champion that, but also vendors see that. Vendors see the client reaction to that. Wedding planners see that. We also want to have that same sort of vibe to wedding planners. We want to be good to work with. We want people to just enjoy hanging out with us, you know, like that connection. So we, you know, it all comes back down to connection. And so I think that's where like our longevity and like on a practical sense of being relevant in the industry is, again, back to like connection and how can we focus on that. And so does that make sense? I don't know.
I don't even
Totally.
know.
Did I answer the question? I don't know.
Yes, you did. You did.
That's the, you know, woo. But
there we go,
you know, or you know, practical.
You did, Mike. You did.
Yeah, okay, good. I was gonna throw something practical out, like, yeah, and don't lose photos. Make sure you do quadruple backups. Longevity.
100%.
But
Shari, what would you say is helping you stay relevant? So, you know, Mike, yeah, you touched upon various things from, you know, really submitting to different contests, things like that, and then, you know, the client experience and making sure that they have an amazing time, because then they're going to share about you with their friends and family, and they'll see that as well, as will the vendors, etc., which keeps you relevant. Is there anything else that you feel has helped you really stay relevant and continue this career trajectory that you're on right now?
I don't know if I'd have much of a different answer. I don't know if this even answers the question, but building on what Mike said, I think we learned about the importance of the experience, almost more than the photos, is that energy that you bring to a wedding day. I think we learned it years ago at a wedding, where it was the feel of the day was just, it was really stressful, like probably the most stress I had ever felt on a wedding day, for a variety of reasons. And I just remember like feeling like I can't really overly do my job right now, as in like the taking photos, until the bride kind of connected with what was happening on the day. Trying to explain this the best I can. Anyways, so it was kind of one of those first time where I felt like I needed to put my camera down and I needed to figure out how to like bring the calm and the peace and that feeling to a wedding. And so after talking with some people, we like brought her dog, and it just like brought this like different energy, and the whole day like really like shifted. And I remember getting an email from the mom like a couple weeks after the wedding, just thanking us. It was nothing to do with the photos. It was just thanking us for like calm presence that we brought to a day. And I remember that being like the first time I connected with like, oh, like we're more than just photographers. When we show up at a wedding day, the energy that we bring can really add to the whole experience,
or subtract.
Totally. And so I think that was, from that moment, it was always about then when we came into a wedding day, like what energy are we bringing? And like Mike said, like most of our inquiries are still from people just like who were at a wedding day, who we connected with. And so I think that has just always kept us relevant, just because it's like people felt comfortable with us. And yeah, so I think that is probably just building on what Mike had said.
Yeah,
love it. Relevant. So
all right. So final question around this kind of concept, but obviously you're very skilled at what you do with weddings, and the connection with your clients is super important, and just the effects that has on your business. What is your kind of mindset or system, so to speak, for getting yourselves ready so that you can bring that calm presence to a wedding day? Like, do you have a routine? Is there something that you do in the morning? Is Mike like breakdancing and just doing like a little show before you go out? Like, what is just bring us into like a day, a snapshot into a day where you're shooting a wedding. What happens the morning of or the night before, and to get yourselves ready?
It's
maybe not the night before.
Yeah. It's always different, and we don't really have like a routine, I would not say.
I know, I wish we were one of those people where I could be like, oh, well, let me tell you, here's what we do. We make this. It's important.
We're not those people. I think we've learned a few things. And one of the things that is very key for me is eliminating some of the stress around. So like before it was always like, as you can tell, if you don't know Mike, he's very like, go with the flow, like whatever. But I require a bit more, just a bit more. And so we would show up at weddings like, you know, Mike always is like, yeah, if we're like 15 minutes early, that's on time, which it is technically, but I don't do well with that. I learned that I don't do well with that. So we have started showing up a lot earlier for weddings. So we've gotten to the point where we get childcare a lot earlier so that we can make sure Augie is taken care of. And then we can get out the door and we get to our location. If it's an hour early, great. We have an hour to just like
hang out,
have coffee in the car, no stress. We're there. This is great. That has been very key, especially with having a kid. I feel like I have to I need to make sure she is taken care of, and then I can move into like getting myself ready for the wedding, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where before it was always like when she was first born, it was like very rush, and I did not do well with that. And so we figured that out really soon, like quickly. And that's been very helpful. So I don't say we have a routine. It's just that time before a wedding where we don't have a kid, we're at the location, and then I can just like take a minute to like get myself ready to go. Does that make sense? So
yeah, 100%.
And for me, coffee.
Mike just needs coffee.
Coffee and cameras, good to go. Yeah, no, I like it. I'm the same, Shari. I love to just like have, you know, make sure that I'm there, settle down, etc. And just my whole morning as well to just be like very much like in flow almost, so that because when you're like kind of wound up or you're kind of rushing from here to there, that and then you get to a wedding, that kind of is still with you. So to release that, let that go, get into the day, be smooth and calm, and then that can grow and continue for the rest of the wedding day. And then
I mean, I make sure all our gears, I typically will make sure all our gears prepped the night before. Cards are in cameras, batteries are charged and in cameras, like all set up and everything like that.
Yeah,
so
we do that the night
from
before.
A practical sense, that is one thing we do the night before. So we're not thinking of that the morning of. We know we have all of our gear, and, which I'm sure most people do, but have everything all sorted and stuff like that. But
nice. Yeah, I wish we could outsource that part.
Right.
Definitely.
Totally. Great. Well, thanks, guys. Like, what does the next few months look like for you? You mentioned, you know, having these weekends off to really be with each other, Augie, and to enjoy the summer. Shed a bit of light into the kind of weddings that are coming up or what you're excited for this summer.
Yeah, I think it's having a bit more of a, I hate the word balance, but having a bit more of like time for fun and work, which once again haven't done a lot of. It's also kind of nice. We're a lot more like local this year. We're not jumping on a lot of planes, doing all that kind of stuff, which normally like we love. But like we said, 2023, we're just looking a bit more like it's just like a reset year for us. It's a little bit more chill, a little bit more like a little less chaos, a little bit more calm. And I think, and obviously focusing a bit more on our health. Mike's had a few things. I've had some mental health stuff. So I think it's just, getting ourselves reset and ready for like the next 10 years is really, I think, key for us. I think we need this year in order to go further. I think that's what we always need in life, is just like kind of those resets of like to then leap to the next kind of level. So
totally.
But we're also excited. I feel like we've always packed our schedule so full that saying yes to things has never been like, we've had opportunities that we've just had to say no to because we just didn't have the capacity to do it. And so I think we're very excited to just be able to say yes to things. If it fits with what's happening, not obviously yes so that we fill it up again, but just more like if an opportunity comes that we're really excited about, it's like we actually have time to say yes to this. So I think that's really exciting. We're exploring a couple different kind of avenues. Mike's always wanted to get into education. I've been a little bit more of the like pull into that side of things. And so I'm digging in a little less. So, but also having the time to like Mike said, go to a cabin, just really like dream about what we would want to bring to the education space. I don't want to just do it half-ass. I want to do it well. And so I think that's something we're excited about. And then like, yeah, just like a little side project that we're working on with our buds, Hello Tomorrow. We started it in 2020, had to kind of shelf it for the craziness of 2021, 2022.
Pulling it off the shelf.
So we're pulling it off the shelf this year, and we'll see like what comes of that. So we're very hopeful. The excitement is returning to our bones. We're very like,
and we have 2 camping trips booked.
Yeah, so we're excited. We're like really excited about what's gonna happen this year. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Really appreciate your time and your vulnerability, your openness, and your excitement as well to just continue to share with the community, be part of it, and supporting me as well throughout all the different projects and different points in my own journey. I really appreciate the both of you. Shari, once again, happy birthday. I'm excited to celebrate both of you very soon.
Brother, well, thank you for having us. It's like truly an honor to be here. And I just want to say, man, like the way you support this community, Sach, and what you do for the community in Vancouver, it's incredible. So thank you for all you do and constantly pushing and constantly like trying new things and exploring ways to bring this community together and support this community that we have. You're a champion, my friend, and we're really thankful to be able to like be a part of that with you and to call you friends. So we love you, and thank you for having us.
Yay.
Hey, nice one, guys. Love you both too, and thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining us on Coffee with Creatives. Absolutely love and adore Shari and Mike, and it was so awesome to have them here as guests. I know there were plenty of takeaways for me in there, and I'm sure there were for you. If there are any guests that you'd love to see on Coffee with Creatives, drop them in the comments below and subscribe to stay tuned in for future episodes. My name is Sachin Khona, your host on Coffee with Creatives. Look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Peace.